So I like quotes a lot, and that's because they help to stimulate the mind's understanding of ideas. So on this episode of Late Edition, the quote of Christopher Eric Hitchens readily comes to my mind. Now, he was an American author, and I should add that he was also an acclaimed atheist. Now, his quote that the only people truly bound by campaign promises are the voters who believe in them still resonates. But one thing that came out of the 2023 general elections, from my perspective, is that Nigerians are starting to hold political candidates accountable, and this is reflected in the various election outcomes. Now, we know that some candidates, including incumbent governors, lost in the election, even in their own jurisdiction, while others did not win in their respective constituencies with regards to the national and state houses of assembly elections. Now, while as election monitors noted, a lot of credit will go to the mainstreaming of technology by INEC via the BVAS and IREV, others, however, believe that it is evident of a maturing electorate and one that henceforth governance will no longer be business as usual. And this is the prompt for us on Late Edition this week. So it will be exciting to hear from very prominent political leaders what election promises got to do with winning elections. I am Claire Adelabu Abdurrazak. Thank you for joining us. Now, my guest is Barrister Adebayo Shittu. He's a graduate of law from the University of Ife in Ile-Ife. He was called to bar in 1979. Now, he's a recipient of many, many awards and has contributed immensely to the growth of ICT sector in Oyo State and indeed Nigeria. Now, he was the Minister of Communication, but before then, he also served as the Commissioner for Home Affairs, Information and Culture in the old Oyo State. Of course, that was before it was carved, Osun was carved out of it. Barrister Adebayo Shittu is a politician, a prominent politician, and of course, an administrator. My second guest is Dan Beatrice Manjang. The name already, suggests where he's from, but he's the Commissioner for Information, Plateau State, a graduate of economics from the University of Sokoto, and has been involved in Plateau State politics since 2008. Now, Daniel Manzang is also a theologist and has been involved in many theological works, including translation of many religious literature to Birom language. Should I also add that he is also a politician? Now, Barrister Oji Uchenna Oji is the Commissioner for Ministry of Information and State Orientation, Abakaliki in Ebonyi State. He's a graduate of law from the Abia State University, Turu, OJ's work experience stretches across many spheres, ranging from government and non-government organizations, including, of course, his recent political position as Directorate of Information, Divine Mandate Campaign Council 2023. Honorable Minister, former Minister, of course, Honorable Commissioners, let me thank you very much and welcome you to Late Edition this week. And Barrister OJ is joining us via Zoom all the way from Abakaliki in Ebonyi State. So let me start and just to get your impressions, specifically about 2023 elections. From your perspective, elections are, supposed to be like an examination, for our political leaders. The outcome of it, will determine how individual participants, performed, whether they passed the elections, in this instance, winning the elections, or whether they passed the election exam or failed the election exams, in this instance, failed, to win, election victory. Honorable Minister, maybe I should start from you. You've been in the political sector for a long time.
The 2023 election is one election which is different from all elections we have had previously in this country. The fact that it is different and the fact that it went the way it did does not necessarily mean people took decisions on a qualitative perception basis. Different, factors were responsible for the different results, we've had. I want to commend INEC at this stage that they did very, very well in preparing and implementing the policies for the election. But there's one thing which we always call the Nigerian factor. Even if God were to come, onto earth to implement or execute an election program, you still have a lot of factors called Nigerian factor coming into play decisive roles. And when I talk of Nigerian factor, what it simply means is corruption, is imposition, is the role of money, in determining how people take decisions. For instance, in several parts of the country, we are aware that, votes went as far as to, the sum of 5,000 naira per vote. I mean, this is...
In the 2023 election?
A lot of money played roles. A lot of people had to buy votes, as high a sum as 5,000. I mean, and that's the truth. In some other instances, people took decisions only because they were given wrong impressions of particular candidates, of particular parties, and all of that. And, for instance, the fact that the NSAS, NSAS incidences of, I think, 2020 played roles in the election of 2023 is a sad commentary on our electoral process, because it ought not to have had a role at all. If you talk of NSAS, what does NSAS mean? Ending the brutality of police. But at the end of the day, the victim of the NSAS indoctrination were not policemen. They were politicians who people had perceived, they had been oppressing them wrongly. So these are some of the things that I feel.
So you don't think qualitative
decisions?
Yes,
not
measures.
In all cases. I mean, people were swayed by, one indoctrination or the other, or even by the influence of money.
Okay.
I mean, this actually happened.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner for Information, Mr. Dan, what are your perspectives? What was the sway for the election?
Yes, to my mind, the 2023 election is an improvement over all other elections that we have had in this country. Some people might disagree with me, But why do I say so? From the electoral law, you would see that the mechanisms that have been put in place gave us the enabling environment to improve that election. So I am surprised when people say that the election was not free and fair. We had, like you said in your intro, Claire, there are governors that lost elections. Even the president lost his state. The president-elect lost his state. The DG of campaign of APC lost his state and stuff like that. And so they had an influence, they are in a position of influence to influence the elections, the electorates, but they didn't.
So for you, what was that big factor?
For me,
that enabled that?
The big factor that enabled that is because the people, power belonged to the people. Even though there were infractions that we would isolate, probably now or later. But one big thing that, that influenced that election is that ethnicity and religion came in. And it influenced a lot of the electorates and swayed a lot of votes during the presidential. And then when it came to the gubernatorial, we saw massive changes. And so people voted along those lines in some instances.
Barrister Oji, how do you evaluate the electorate behavior in terms of election outcomes in the 2023 election?
Thank you very much. To the best of my knowledge, I would say that the election of the 2023 was a defining moment. It was also a litmus test on the acceptability of political parties, on the perception of the electorates, the voters, or the individual leaders across the nation. And I will also give kudos to INEC. I must make bold to say that there was a great improvement, comparatively speaking. And in some climes like ours, I can say there was nothing like vote buying. What we had was people voting according to their perception of capabilities and abilities of leaders. In Ebonyi State, for instance, where it would appear to every other person outside Southeast that it was Labour Party, the people in Ebonyi said, no, the case of Ebonyi is an exception, that the governor of Ebonyi is an extraordinary leader who has transformed Ebonyi State, and the only way to reward him is to vote along the line of his party. And so in the National Assembly election, we won a Senate 3/3, and of course captured virtually the House of Reps, like 90%. And in the governorship election, our governor came, clearly, 100% for the APC candidate. And the people are feeling that the governor has done tremendously well. And the APC in Ebonyi State has also done tremendously well. And of course, the governor came on board in 2015 when the administration of President Muhammad Buhari came on board. And we have never had it so good the way we are having it under the present administration of President Muhammad Buhari. And I would say that the 2023 election gave people a lot of opportunities, a lot of, temerity to vote.
By Saudi, just a moment. I'll return to you to tell us, justify what you have said. The voting line of the electorate in Ebonyi State. You'll come to justify it, but let us try and establish a foundation before we now look at that aspect you're talking about. And again, I'm wondering from what the Honourable Minister, former Minister, said. And by the way, I should have started by congratulating you. I know a few days ago you turned, should I say it?
70, yes.
Yes. Yes. So yes. So just to establish the fact that he's an experienced politician, so he will understand what I'm talking about. And this is about trusting the politicians. And every cycle of elections that we have, we've discovered that the trust, for politicians by Nigerians tend to decline. It might not be peculiar with us, but it happens every. So why do you think Nigerians or just the electorate distrust the politicians?
Well, you see, like you rightly said, I've been in politics for more than 40 years. Precisely, I came into politics in 1978 when we were preparing for the second. So consistently, I've been in politics, and I know what I'm saying when I say that. If you go to the electorate, virtually in every part of this country, you want to campaign, more often than not, they are not asking you what you will do when you get to government. In Yoruba, they will say, what did you bring for us? It's unfortunate, but that is the reality. Maybe because there has been so much, poverty in the land. That is more often than not what the majority of the electorate is. So even despite the currency redesign and scarcity, some politicians were still able to access money and utilize money. I am telling you, and I'm speaking, as a very sincere person. So that is that. Again, in some areas where there's perception about a party, people will not even look at money, they won't look at anything. They are driven by the perception, which may be right or may be wrong. Of course, in some cases, you may also have situations like what happened in Ebonyi, where the governor there has really transformed his state, using his ideas, using his intelligence, using his, professional knowledge as an engineer. So it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag, and the issue of trust, the fact that they trust somebody today, does not necessarily.
The former minister, has tactically, left out the part of capacity and qualities of our politicians. Mr. Manzang, I don't know. You have your perspective.
Yeah, well, yes, I have my perspective. You see, Nigerian politics is evolving. It's evolving, and then we are not playing much ideological politics in Nigeria. The politics of ideology is being played in places like Kano, is being played in other states, but the politics of ethnicity has taken place, and that is why you see people cross-carpeting from one party to the other. The lawmakers, for example, even the executive, you see a governor today voted on the platform of a political party, and tomorrow he wakes up and then moves to another party. It is not ideological. Invariably, the laws allow for that. The laws should make it mandatory in such a way that you should lose your position, because the platform upon which you won this election is not the platform upon which you are cross-carpeting. And it is not going to be true that everybody that voted for you based on your manifesto, based on what you said you were going to do to the people, is with you. And so we are not ideological. It's a matter of, it is our turn, it is a matter of rotational politics, that if it is this time the turn of this constituency, it should be the turn of another constituency next time. We are not yet there to play the politics of ideology. And that is the problem that we have. We must be ideological in our beliefs. We don't have to go into election to win, but we want to drive home a program which, if the people don't vote for us today, tomorrow they might vote for us. And then you bring this ideology to fore, and then they will now see and begin to trust you. Until we do that, we still have a long way to go.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought the issue of ideology into it, in addition to the monetization of, the process, which together, makes it, makes the whole process, somehow vulnerable to all sorts. But let me bring in Barrister OJ. But Barrister OJ, I'd like for you to listen. Someone actually, wrote this, and I'd like for you to. It says, inconsistency of politicians is legendary. and borders on creative lies and propaganda. And that's why you have this, magnitude of distrust, mistrust, lack of confidence, on our politicians by the electorate. What's your...
Thank you very much. Yeah, I agree that inconsistency is one of the nagging issues that are the banes of the political development in Nigeria. It has little to do with ideology, so to speak. Ideology, in terms of what my colleague, the Honorable Commissioner, is saying, is talking about party ideology. Yeah, that's very important. But the most critical is that principle, that character, capacity, character. You can call it mental and moral character of that person. And that can drag you to one political party or the other. As it is now, the emphasis of Nigerian populace is on the character, the trust, the credibility, the pedigree, what you can do, what you have achieved with the positions given to you, and what you are going to achieve with the position you are seeking for. These are the front burners, as far as the current political situation is concerned. Everybody's asking, how can we be fair? In Nigeria, where there is multi-ethnicity, must we concentrate power in one place? The answer is no. There must be a little bit of fairness, zoning principle that will make for confidence among the ethnic groups. This is very important, and that's why we appreciate the fairness exhibited by APC. It's only APC among the other political parties that did zone their presidential ticket in line with the provisions of the Constitution of Nigeria and their party constitution. PDP failed woefully, and every other political party went along the line of ethnicity and religion. But APC said no, whether it is this religion or the other, what is important is that we have a principle, we have a character that we need to show to the people, and that is making them to trust in the constitution that we have, to trust in the party constitution and the guideline that we have. And that has really helped in enthroning the president-elect that we now have, who is of APC. So I'm thinking that emphasis should be on character, on pedigree, on capacity, on what you have done before, experience, exposure. This must count for us to move forward in Nigeria.
All right, thank you. Barrister Orji, thank you. Again, I come back just before I go for a short break. I'm picking this, from the research, and because I found that article, quite interesting and enlightening. That's why I'm bringing it so that you give your perspectives. Again, the writer made, alluded to the way politicians, view politics and the electoral process as a personal, personal thing. And so that, personalization of politics kills any ideological underpinnings. And rather than use the party as a vehicle for, driving the ideals and dividends or party manifestos, it is used for some other, unserious elements.
Well, unfortunately, in Nigeria, there's really no encouragement to really even have manifesto. You see so many people campaigning for votes without any manifesto. What they sell or what they market is their personalities or where they come from. And unfortunately, people themselves are not asking questions. That's the most unfortunate. I told you earlier that I have been on the field. And when you go, no matter the ideas you are preaching, what people are asking is, what did you bring for us? So you see, in some places I understand that votes sell for as low as 200 naira. It's very unfortunate, but that's the reality on that. So it is important for politicians not to see themselves fair, because people enter into political parties where they think their objective of getting into office will be best served. They don't go into a party because they think that party has an ideology which is in tandem with their own. And so in various political parties, you see people of mixed beliefs, mixed ideological orientation, but because nobody really discussed those ideologies.
Does that help? Does that help?
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. So politicians must provide leadership in this regard. But I think the problem with us is what I term the Nigerian factor. The Nigerian factor does not really go for quality. The Nigerian factor does not really ask questions. What is important? The person who wants an office, if he gets there, will I have an opportunity of, also getting something from him? Unfortunately, that is the predominant thinking among Nigerian politicians.
Mr. Manzang, I know in Plateau State, the incumbent governor lost, even his senatorial ambition. Does that mean that he didn't have, any manifesto? He didn't have any, planned objectives or targets? Did he achieve them at all?
Yeah, well, it's not that he didn't have the manifesto, is not that he didn't have a program. But like I told you, there are so many things. For people that know what Plateau State is, there's a lot that played out in the religious sphere. But we are bold to say that on the plateau, and then envy also came in. On the plateau, there's a maxim that says, or there's a belief that an incumbent governor cannot install a successor. That played out, but it's a subject of the tribunals now. But I can assure you that when it comes to Plateau State, even in the southern senatorial district, where the governor comes from, there's a lot that has been done. There is a lot of federal presence in the southern senatorial district, not to talk of the central and the northern. Let me say quickly, for example, that in the southern zone, there's a federal polytechnic that has been established in the central zone, in the southern zone. There is also the Federal Road Safety Training School in the southern zone. There's also the background.
Yes, what's this?
This is what we are seeing now is the bypass, the Shandam bypass. It's a big bridge bypass that has been done and a road that has been done. And it is also the Lalong legacy projects in the southern zone. There are 22 cut across the state. This one is the Lalong legacy project that has been established. This is the Plateau State. This is the Plateau State Hospital that is being renovated. There's an MRI machine that has been established there. We have done quite a lot. There's also the High Court premises. This is the hospital I'm talking about, the Lalong Legacy Hospital, Plateau State Hospital, a specialist hospital that is being upgraded. The water projects too, which have been comatose for 25 years since the era of Solomon Lar.
Do the people realize that you have this project? Because that's another thing.
Yes,
if they don't know that you have this project.
The people realize, but the issue on the plateau is, I have told you essentially, is that a prophet does not have an honor in his country. What this administration has done, even on Plateau State, on peace issues alone, the university on peace issues alone, is great, because today there are investments that are coming up on the plateau.
I'll just put you on hold, because we will come back and look at the rescue mission.
Yes.
And find out how much, whether it translated or I don't know, because we didn't see the outcome of the rescue mission reflect in the outcome of the elections in Plateau State. So when we come back, you will speak further on that. And of course, Barrister Oji would also tell us, justify what he meant by Ebonyi State voting, on the line of capacity and capability of leadership. Let's take a short break now. You're watching Late Edition, and we're looking at election promises and accountability. We'll be right back.
You can't fight piracy, you can't fight a war.
Therefore, you don't claim your rights.
The challenge I see is in the fiscal.
Do we have to wait until we have a problem?
See, the problem with those who speak on behalf of themselves and the country is that they should have facts. I'm speaking now as Minister for Transport.
For you to become economically independent, you must have to curtail the level of importation of other people's products and services.
How rich you are, you can't bring certain vehicle into the country.
Okay. There's no competitiveness within the state.
I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak. Thanks for joining me. All right, welcome back. It's the late edition. This week, we're looking at election promises and accountability. I now bring in Barrister Orji Uchenna Orji. Barrister Orji, so why do you think politicians make promises they can't or find it difficult to keep? Sometimes the campaign promises are, I don't even know how to describe it. They are just proclamation of massive projects, that they know they cannot realize. How did that play out in Ebonyi?
Thank you very much. Let me say that at a point of election, the electorate sometimes are being brainwashed into believing in persons that ordinarily don't have any capacity or any evidence of pedigree. This has happened in some places, and that is why when there is time for another election, they find it difficult coming back or putting people and all of that. But let me say in the case of Ebonyi State, the governor came on board in 2015. He came on board as a deputy governor and became the first deputy governor in the history, I would say, in the history of the world to become governor at the stiffest opposition of the establishment. But when he came, he knew where it was pitching the people. And he started to aggressively address those issues. And infrastructure became one of the very important things, that he needed to address. Education, health, human capital, of course, driving the critical infrastructure that will bring about industrialization, bring about self-reliance, bringing about private sector drive in the state. And this he did fulfill. And like he would always say, see if you come to Ebonyi, that I have never seen the kind of transformation ever in the east of Africa that we've witnessed in Ebonyi State within the shortest record of time. And it's better you come to feel it, you experience it, than you see it on tele. And so the governor had to do this, and the people had the conviction that if a man can within a single tenure of 8 years do all of this, it means that whoever he trusts to become a successor, whoever he trusts among the electors to be elected, then that person or persons will do even better than him. That is what actually saved us. In our case, a Labour Party was going to come like a tsunami with all the people that have been brainwashed into believing in ethnic politics, in religious politics, into believing that APC is not the party of East. And of course, the governor from the beginning had been very vocal that we are mainstreaming with the party at the center, that we are not going to support PDP that has lost contact with the center. And so it's like either you believe in us or you don't believe in us. But people chose to believe in us. And that is why we have had the success that we have had. So essentially what is important is that at the point of election, people should be careful to elect the right persons.
Mr. Dan, I want you to speak to us about, the promises, election promises made by, the executive governor of the state. That's at the state level, that were kept. Because the stories we hear is that not much, had been done in Plateau State.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, I would say that in Plateau State, what has happened is that the successes of the rescue administration are being under-publicized, and it might be an indictment on my office, but I can tell you that what we have been able to do, the rescue administration of Right Honorable Simon Bakola Long is being guided by a 3-point policy thrust. We can go on that quickly. The first one is peace, security, and good governance. The second one is infrastructural development. And the third one is sustainable economic rebirth. And for peace, security,
do the people know this?
The people
have
know
an understanding
it.
of what?
The people have an understanding, and I will keep saying that it is because of the underpinnings of religion, which is very sensitive and unfortunate for us on the plateau, that we got to where we are. The court of public opinion knows what we have been able to do in the state. For peace, for the life of the past administration, nobody wanted to go to Jos. In fact, the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies was almost relocated. People did not want to go. People found it difficult to come to Jos, but in the life of this administration, the present administration, people come to Jos and they find it difficult to live. Like I keep saying, I cannot remember when last there was any conflict in any community. And even where there are conflicts in the life of this administration, it's in pockets of local governments, of villages in local governments. We have the first of its kind peace building agency established by this administration, and it did a lot. The young man there, Dr. Joseph Lengman, did quite a lot of dialoguing, and we live together in peace today on the plateau. There has been the Nigerian Air Force presence in Kerang, in the central zone, for people that know Plateau State. On their way to Shandam, there is an Air Force station that was built on virgin land there.
The question people will now ask is, how did all of these things you are telling us now impact on the lives of the ordinary, person in Jos? And how come that His Excellency also lost his own senatorial,
Yes, the power belongs to the people, like I keep saying, for the fact that it is also a biblical matter that if a prophet has no honor in his country, I can tell you, I assure the world and I assure Plateau people that after the governor leaves, it is then that they will appreciate him. And that is what normally is being done in this country.
What can you point at? Oji has shown us those beliefs are landmark projects, that earned his governor, a victory, at least.
Yes, for the projects that we have on the plateau, we completed the flyover from Secretariat Junction to Baraban Jama, for people that know Plateau State very well, and built a brand new flyover interchange at British America Junction. It is a federal government road project, but we have done that. Right now, it is awaiting commissioning by Mr. President, and that is why the governor visited the president yesterday to invite him. We also have the Jos High Court complex.
The British American infrastructure
flyover.
Yes.
Yes.
When is it? It's not been commissioned.
It's not been commissioned. As I speak to you, in the next 2 weeks, it will be ready for commissioning. As I speak to you, people now use the flyover. They use the bridge. They use the road that has been dualized there, and it's going to be commissioned. It's going to be ready for commissioning. Speaking on sound authority. In the next 2 weeks.
What's the viability of that project?
The viability of that project is that it links, that road links Plateau State even to the northeast.
I wish we can have it. I wish we can have it. If we can have it, please, let's see what...
It links the northeast, it links this country through Jos to the northeast. And then there's also, like I keep saying, the picture that we just saw is the Plateau Specialist Hospital. The massive renovation that is going on there to house the MRI machine. And like I said, also, the Jos High Court complex, there is none of its kind that has been built in northern Nigeria. when we speak, I hope that the images are going to be there for people to see. This is the Plateau State University in Bokos, the massive renovation that is going on there, because in the life of this administration, we made that university closed. It was closed. We reopened it and then added 4 new faculties. We have undertaken about 4 convocations there in that university right now.
All along you've been talking, Honorable Minister. I'll get you. All along you've been talking. I was expecting to hear you. Okay. In the area of agriculture, because I know this is an area that you have comparative advantage. This is just as one of the food baskets. I don't know if I'm wrong. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Yes. So in terms of agriculture,
yes, that is why if I had gone through the program, the 3-point policy of this administration would have touched that. But because you spoke about agriculture, we have the potato value chain in Mangu local government. What that value chain, that tissue, what that is going to do is that in agriculture, the seed is the most important. We will be able to produce seed, potato seeds, for people to be able to for farmers, because there is no good seed that is available for the farmers, and what that has to do is that we produce seeds, and then there are other factories that have been established. One is in Barkinladi, one in Bokos, one in Mangu local government, to be able to process potato into starch, process potato into things like springles, so that it will be preserved. Instead of, it will give value for money for the farmers. And in agriculture, that we have been able to do. And we are also...
What's the state of the, I think, Baka farms or something?
No, not Back Farms was sold, but it was rebought. We have the ASTC that was established by the past administration, which we are expanding. There's a dairy farm in ASTC in Bokos. The Back Farms was resold. It's a virgin land, but this administration bought it back at the cost of 3 billion naira. And that is huge investment that was done, that the Plateau people are very happy about. It was bought, but it was sold to Murtala Nyako, but it was bought back.
Unfortunately, despite all that, he has said, fortunately for Barrister Orji, his, principal, got, elected to go to the National Assembly. But unfortunately, Right Honorable Along didn't get, despite all this. What do you think it is? It because, is it?
You see, there's a difference between Ebonyi and the Plateau. In Ebonyi State, you have just one tribe, Igbos. Everybody in Ebonyi is Igbo. In Plateau, I think there are more than 15 tribes.
So we have 53.
53 in one state, mutually antagonistic of each other. He earlier spoke of the issue of pettiness, rivalry, and all of that. I mean, these are real issues. The unfortunate thing also is this. Most, inhabitants of Plateau are Christians. But even between Christianity and Plateau, you have Catholics, you have Anglicans, you have and each of these. I mean, and all of these are considered as serious divisions. Not to talk of the Muslim population in just North. So it's not the same kind of, it's not the same issue. So while virtually everybody in Ebonyi is Igbo and is Catholic, the situation is different in Plateau. So you would understand. And
would it have been different?
You see, the other issue,
if you didn't have the plurality of tribes.
It may have been different. Unfortunately, also there were a lot of people who were dissatisfied with Bakola Long for accepting to be the Director General of Asiwaju Campaign Organization, particularly in view of the so-called Muslim ticket. There were a lot of even very important national leaders of APC who left, in annoyance, were also targeting attacks against Bakola Long, the governor, for accepting to be the Director General. So all of this must have affected his chances one way or the other.
So let's look at the bigger picture now. The president-elect has his, assignment already cut out. A lot is being expected. Someone said, yesterday, and I quite agree, that unlike, Baba, the President Muhammad Buhari, who had lots and lots of goodwill when he came in, not so for the president-elect. So he has a lot. Now, he has his mandate, does he?
Of course he has. He's been voted
So
in.
now, how can we hold him accountable? Because you are a member of his inner caucus.
You see, one thing that goes on very well for the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is that he's been governor of Nigeria's most sophisticated state for 8 years. And he transformed most of Lagos State from slum condition to modern human settlements. I recall, for instance, that before he came on board, to board a kaja in most bus stops, some will come in through the main door, some will come in through the back door, some will come in through windows. It was like, an animal farm situation. But when he came on board, he introduced Lamata, he introduced several other agencies which modernized the transportation system in Lagos. That was not a mean feat. He achieved that on a sustainable basis. Number two, you also recall that the Bar Beach, before he came on board, was at that time threatening to swallow the whole of Victoria Island.
Yes, and I know the myths surrounding the Bar Beach and the glass house.
And I recall that Abdul Karim Adisa, a major general who was a minister at that time,
late now,
was pumping 3 billion naira on a yearly basis to put sand to checkmate the Atlantic Ocean. And as soon as these monies were expended, the Bar Beach, the ocean, surging ocean will come and sweep it in. It was when Bola Ahmed Tinubu came that he transformed the Bar Beach in such a way that the Atlantic Ocean, which was threatening, Victoria Island.
That was when the embankment was done.
It became, not only curtailed, but today that Atlantic Ocean is the residence of a brand new city called Atlantic City.
Former Minister Barrister Shitu, someone said, a very prominent legislator, once said, when he wasn't a legislator, we could invite him on one of our shows and he could talk. So someday when he became a legislator, we called him and he was quite cold in responding. And I said, what happened? He said, see, there's a lot of, what you know from the outside. It's not the same as what you know when you are inside. But I know that you've been a former minister, so you know the bureaucracy of implementation. Don't you see the
leader must provide leadership, and the leader can transform protocols, can drive, and he's the driver who must drive everybody. He will have no excuse to say that certain traditions had existed and that he is, enslaved by those traditions. Asiwaju Tinubu was for 8 years governor of Lagos State, and we know the transformation. I believe that his coming in as president of Nigeria is a blessing for the entire nation because he has done an antecedent which everybody is proud of.
Barrister Shitu, thank you. I hope I'll be able to take one more last question from you. But Barrister Orji, in this last few minutes remaining, I know that your principal got elected to the National Assembly, to the Senate to be precise, and he's also written for the highest seat. I don't know. So if he does get it, how might we compel those at the National Assembly as well to also deliver on their campaign promises? Because sometimes they tell you, ours is to make laws, but they also have campaign promises that they made to their constituents when they were campaigning?
Even though the network is not very favorable to me, but I must say that my boss going to the Senate is a very good man to the people of Nigeria. He's a bridge builder. He believes in one Nigeria. And he has garnered a lot of experience as governor for 8 years. He has a great deal of exposure. This is a man, when he goes outside the shores of this country, he comes back, he does replicate whatever he sees outside the shores of the country. I believe that in the Senate, he will do a lot to make a difference. He has got the capacity, the character, the experience, and the loyalty to the nation. And also, he believes that we cannot do it alone as one ethnic group. We need a synergy of the three major ethnic groups to move the nation forward.
Okay, Barrister Oji, I just have just 60 seconds for you, Mr. Dan, and I just for you to tell us. Obviously, His Excellency, the Governor of Plateau State, a gentleman, for excess. I know him. Had played, maybe a very high-level politics that his people didn't quite understand. Going forward now. What would be your message to the people of Plateau in terms of, holding, coming leaders, accountable to their campaign promises?
Yes, quickly, I would say that even though the governor lost the Senate, his bid to go to the Senate, but he won the presidency of Nigeria. He was at the helm of affairs, and so he has not really actually lost. But coming back to people in Plateau State, we need to be our brother's keepers. Whoever God decides that will lead us should be accommodative. We should support him. What we don't want on the plateau is to go back to the dark days where we keep running, we keep killing ourselves. We make the state ungovernable. We have all the potentials.
My question even is, as a commissioner for information, what would you have done, differently? What would you now do differently? What would be the lesson learned now,
Yeah, the lesson learned is that we'll continue to showcase and document, which is very important, what we have done in the past administration for posterity to see, because it is our attitude and character that leaders are not celebrated while they are on the saddle. They are only celebrated after they have left. One good class of leaders, one good class of people that are going to celebrate this governor are the civil servants. We met a backlog of salary arrears of 7 months and pensions, which totaling about 15 to 18 billion naira, and he cleared it. And today, the workers even have nicknamed the governor, Governor Alert. And as I sit down here, he has vowed that he is not going to leave salaries unpaid. We have not paid.
Any unfinished projects?
There would be part of the Lalon legacy projects, but if we had time, I would have told you that most of them have been taken over. Like the one in Ajikamai was taken over by the Federal Polytechnic. The one in Dengi has been taken over by the Federal College of Education, Panjshir, because it is now a university of education, so it's going to be relocated. The one in Riom is being taken over by the North Central School, Nigerian Bar, Nigerian Law School is going to be established there. So most of them have been taken over. Some have been completed and are awaiting commissioning. That is the best that I can
Last
say.
word from the former minister.
Well, I think we should thank God that we had an election with people, particularly fake pastors, predicted would not happen, despite their evil predictions. It happened today. We have a president-elect who would, by the grace of God, be sworn in on the 29th of May. My appeal is for all Nigerians to pray for the incoming president. It is in our own best interest that we have a president who is able to deliver. He has all the great ideas that he's coming in with, and he has said repeatedly that he will not disappoint Nigeria. So we all need to give him every support, including prayers, for him to be granted eternal, good health and perpetual longevity and Solomonic wisdom.
All right, Barrister Adebayo Shitu, former Minister of Communication and, of course, former Commissioner for Home Affairs, Information and Culture in the Old Oyo State. I'd like to thank you very much, sir, for coming to share your perspectives. Dan Beatrice Manjang, Commissioner for Information and Communication, Benue, Plateau State. I beg your pardon. Thank you very much, sir, for coming to share your perspectives. And Barrister Oji Uchenna Oji, Commissioner for Information and State Orientation of Ebonyi State. I'd like to thank you and appreciate your contributions to Late Edition this week. That's it on Late Edition this week. I'd like to thank you for watching. From me and my production crew, to have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.